Hey guys, what's going on? Bobby here, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today, we're going to be taking a look at another race, another onboard from one of my races, but this time, we're moving out of the Ignite series. We're going to jump into the time machine, go back to the iDrive rental karting days. Yes, we're going to look at some of the videos from the 2017 season, which was my final year running full-time in the iDrive series, and if you guys have been on the channel long enough, you were able to kind of witness that season throughout. But if you didn't, I kind of just had battles with, there was one specific driver that just seemed to kind of be there in the mix with me all the way through to the end. And fortunately, in this episode, for the first time, we are joined with a co-analyst, co-commentator, Brendan Lauer. How is it going, my dude?
Hey man, it's going pretty good. I know you can't see me right now, but I saw you earlier, and I gotta say, you're looking pretty good in your atanetwork.com/merch.
Hey, getting the plug out of the way. Don't you like this? It's so comfy and cozy, and I feel like I could just like sleep right now. It's beautiful merch.
I can't see you now, but from what I remember, yeah, it looked fine.
Me and Brendan are going to look back at the iDrive shootout, kind of get you guys up to speed here. In the iDrive series, there's the spring and fall series. I believe now it's 7 races in that season. And, the top 10 and the points at the end get invited to the shootout at the end of the year, which typically runs with the final Ignite race in the schedule. And the winner after 3 heats in the iDrive shootout win an Ignite scholarship for the following year. And we are actually going to be looking back at the third and final heat. Going into the third and final heat, I was fortunate enough to kind of wiggle my way through the field in the second race and win both of the races to start out with. Brendan actually finished second in both races. So I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly, Brendan, but I believe it was kind of like a situation of like you had to win the race and I had to finish like 4th or worse or something like that.
It was something along those lines. It was either I had to win and you had to be 3rd, or I had to win and you had to be worse than 3rd. But it was one of the more tense days of our otherwise jovial and relaxed iDrive events.
I was actually invited to be on a podcast with Zach Buchanan. It's on the Digital Downforce YouTube channel. Once I get that information, I'll be sharing it with you guys. But I kind of talked about the iDrive shootout, and one of the things I talked about was it really tested not only us as drivers, but us as friends. Like, there's a lot of like trust, as in like, is he gonna wreck me for this kart? Like, how is this gonna happen? And I think that, I don't know if that only crossed my mind, that crossed your mind. I don't know. It just really, I feel like it tested more than just us as racers. It tested us as friends.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much the main thing you're going to see whenever we finally get to this video, because we very much lean on each other, but there was also the understanding between us that we both knew it was going to happen, so it wasn't as bad as it would typically be between like 2 strangers.
Right. And I kind of want to end this video as well, kind of point to some of the differences between Ignite and rental karting, because I know there's going to be some new people that watch this video because it's rentals and that may be what they're into or what they're interested in. And there's going to be a lot of crossover, people coming from the Ignite videos coming to watch the rental karting video. But I want to focus in on some of the differences between iDrive and Ignite. And obviously, once we get started here, once I hit play, you'll see we actually do standing starts in iDrive. The only rental karting race at the Gateway Kartplex that has rolling starts would be the Gateway 500 endurance event. It's always led out by a pace kart, and we get sent off into the first turn with the green flag rolling start. iDrive events are always standing start. So keep that in mind. We're going to hit play here. I'm starting first. Brendan will be starting alongside of me based on the points going into the final race.
Excited. Let's do it.
So we always got a flag man down the way. Green flag is out. And, at this point in the race, you can see Brendan gets a little bit of a better start on the outside. You kind of just want to wait within this first half a lap to a lap just to kind of see who ends up having the advantage early on in the race.
And as you can see, it's very easy to have the advantage in rental karts whenever you just decide to just body slam the other dude out of the way in the second turn. You're welcome for that.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is like that doesn't really bother me because there's a lot of things that you have to consider. You know, did you get pushed into that corner? But another thing is too, and it's even more so now than it was back then. Me and you always, I don't want to say always, we had, you know, maybe a couple of situations where we didn't race each other very fair. I'm thinking of when I shoved you out of the way, like clear into another dimension in the North Pole, like halfway through the season. But like that kind of stuff in iDrive is okay because we've got these bumpers, you know. And if you did that in Ignite, which some people do, I don't see that you would be in a much of a damage situation where you would be hurting your kart at all. But at that point, you're risking bending spindles, bending axles, bending wheels. When you've got these big, heavy rental karts, that kind of driving style is kind of expected.
Yeah, whenever it gets expensive for Keith, that's okay, but whenever you have to start paying up, that's a totally different story.
Exactly. And you can see one of the bad habits that I had, and you're not going to see it going into turn one here where I try getting alongside of you here, but one of the bad habits that I have in Ignite is I'm really prone to shoving people through corners. As you can see, I get through here past you. I jumped the curb there, which is kind of uncommon for the rental karts. And I want to pause right there, right there in that moment. I don't know if you remember this or not, Brendan, but if on your GoPro video you'll be able to see it, and I actually have it, so I can pull from it. This is the situation where I literally gave you a cart length of room because you were still alongside of me, and you had just like a cart length of room between the wall on the exit of turn 3 and my bumper. Do you remember that?
Oh, I do. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm on the right side?
Yeah, you're on the right side, and I barely gave you literally a cart length. It was, if I had taken another inch away, you would have either been on the wall or you would have spun me out.
I'm amazed that you actually did know I was there because I had maybe 3 inches, maybe. Yeah. I was 3 inches to your side, and you're like, oh, okay, my buddy's there.
Well, and
good call.
I honestly don't even think I knew that you were there, which is the crazy thing. And that comes back to like one of those just fundamentals of karting is like there's no spotter, so you don't know if anyone's actually alongside of you. So you kind of have to do the gentleman's perspective of like you just have to give room when you see them in your perspective. So you know, I didn't even think you were there. So I think we just got lucky in the situation is what actually happened.
Yeah. I think I got very lucky. Yes.
Yeah, you got, well, can you imagine what would have happened if you had gotten to the wall and finished last, or if I had got spun out in that situation?
I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Yeah, that the whole dynamic would have changed. I don't think I finished this statement, but there's a thing of where I like to push people through the corner, and I did that in rentals because the karts are pretty stable because they're heavy and suck down to the ground a lot more than the Ignite karts, but it's just a bad habit that I just could not break.
Yeah, but like you said, in this kind of race, and that's, I guess, like the biggest difference is you can just abuse these so much, and you're going to see, like, this is why this is one of my favorite races ever, is because we did use each other up so much, but we were both able to handle it like freaking champions. And the amount of passes we do on each other is ridiculous through this whole thing.
Right. And I think, I don't know what your mentality was. I'd love to know about that. But I remember coming into this with the 2 wins and knowing that I had a little bit of a buffer. So I wanted to be clean. I wanted to make sure that my passes that I made wouldn't put me in a position where I would wreck myself. So there's opportunities where I might have a good run on you and I decide not to make a pass and kind of wait and be patient. Like right here, I get up to your back bumper, I give you a shove because I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it stick in the North Pole. That was my mentality, as I was trying to play it safe. Are you throwing everything that you can at this track right now, trying to do everything you can to win this race?
Dude, I'm trying to drive the race that like makes my future, is how I was looking at it. I'm like, this is my way to get into Ignite with some momentum and not have to shell out all that money for a kart. And I for sure, I was aware of the like possibility that I could like send you in a corner and then you'd have no chance. Oh, hey. I never even saw that on the video, but in the moment I never even noticed you doing that, and I look so much like a like a serious racer in comparison right now because I'm just so focused.
Well, this is almost, I don't even, do I call this offensive? Like, I would think, I think just on the understanding of our friendship and just like how we can be goofy in these kind of situations. Like, I'm trying to think of another example like this, but I'm having troubles doing that. But I think in just normal circumstances, don't do this. I've praised heavily in the last couple of videos of doing positive hand gestures, but this is a little bit on the wacky side of that, like almost taunting. But it's not. I really don't know.
I mean, we were just having so. That's how much fun we were having, and I want to note, even though the optics look like I'm like deathly serious, and I'm like I don't want to give you the time of day. If I had seen you wave, I would have absolutely waved back. Are you kidding me? Oh god,
that's yeah. Like I said, I don't really know. And like right here, I'm alongside of you, and you can. I like to explain it. I don't want to. This is a bad comparison in modern day, as you're well aware. But I compare iDrive to the NASCAR style of racing, whereas Ignite is like open wheel IndyCar or Formula One style, where you can use each other up. But that's kind of looking back to not modern NASCAR. You know, even NASCAR nowadays is a little bit of contact, and you're really kind of screwed. You know,
right.
but it's that
Yeah,
kind
just,
of
like,
what
touching
you're
the
in.
right place.
Yeah, what kind of initial a thought that you would have between the two different driving styles.
Yeah, I think that's pretty freaking accurate because I've been deathly terrified to touch anyone at Ignite. Not only because of like, oh, it's my responsibility if something breaks, but just like they just take so much more of a push. And I'd say if you're looking to go into stock car racing, I think you'll find a lot more enjoyment in rentals, except there's no career in that. So
Right.
you kind of do have to get used to the different styles between the two.
Ignite, I mean, and I wouldn't have said this until probably this year and kind of giving another plug, and I'm just plugging out everybody, but there really wasn't a clear-cut path for people in Ignite to kind of, okay, what's next after karting? But then that's when this year Margay Racing had that partnership with Kate Motorsports, and they're starting this Ignite Autosport to where if you have the merit and you show the skill in the Ignite series, now you've got the potential of being taken up into this driver development program out of four-cycle karting and into a formula car, which most of the time you've got to be a top-tier two-cycle talented driver, and that gets really expensive. And I don't see how people can fork out that kind of money in karting. So it's cool to see Margay doing something where you do that $4,500 price point to get a kart, and then you buy all the gear to get into it, and then within a couple of years or however long it takes, you've got the potential, you got the opportunity to make it into formula car racing, which is a pretty big deal at this level. It's crazy to see because, me and you at this point, we're doing rental karting. Evan Stammer just finished up racing his last year as an Ignite junior, and to think he's actually moved on into this USF 2000 deal, it's crazy. But you can now make the connection between iDrive to IndyCar, which is insane.
It's frankly unbelievable. I mean, if you look at it a certain way, you could be like sitting wherever you are today. You haven't done rental racing, you haven't done Ignite, you haven't done anything, and 2 years from now, you could be on that road. You've done some rental kart racing, you got used to how that works, then you spent the second year in Ignite, learning the ropes, and you get good by the end, and then, oh, look, I have a chance to move up into, like, big-time racing.
It's really cool, especially at this local level. I mean, it's just something that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to do. And one of the main passing places that I'm seeing us take advantage of is down at the North Pole. And I don't know, would you say that there's a little bit more of a draft in iDrive versus Ignite, or would you consider that to be about the same?
I guess I'd say it's about the same. I would also say that even though we do use that a lot, we do use the North Pole a lot for passing. I think it's because we were both giving each other a bit of a chance, because you've seen races, actually the most recent iDrive I did, where people will run all the way to the left and not let you get to the inside there. So then have no choice but to use the bumper. But we were racing aggressively enough to constantly be like side by side and kind of banging, but not so aggressive that we were like shut the door, cut him off, not let him get that chance. We were making it as aggressively fair as I think we could.
Right. And I think that's another important point, is this video is from 2017. So this is what, 18, 19, 20, 4 years old at this point, which is crazy to think about in itself. But the current day of iDrive, they seem to be a lot more aggressive. And and they don't give each other this much room. And I pause right here because you can see we're following the natural line of running at the Gateway Kartplex. If you're trying to get a fast lap, typically you're coming all the way out to the right side because it helps you get to into North Pole, right? Well, it seems like in modern day competition in iDrive, people are like hugging the low line all the way down to block people from going in, which to me is insane, because now they're ruining their turn in for North Pole, allowing the drivers behind to go out to the right side, out wide down the straightaway, and try to get a better run through the North Pole. And if they're crowding the inside and you got somebody that's running 5 miles per hour faster because they've got a better entry, it just gets really messy down at North Pole. I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest.
You're absolutely right. And if you look at my iDrive arcade video at the 54 Car YouTube channel, wink, you actually see the race that I was talking about. And whenever the guy that was racing in front of me, whenever he would do that lap after lap and we'd get that really bad line through North Pole, we got caught. I actually ended up, I won the race, but at one point after we had gotten away, third and fourth got to us, and I actually dropped to fourth for a second, and then there's a lot of contact. I sent Rockwell Seacrest over the over a curb after North Pole one of those laps, and I had to get back up and try again, and it just makes it. I think maybe late race like perfectly fine, and they're not long races to start with. But just doing that all race, you're letting people get to you. Just wait until the later stages, get the two of you out there, then you can kind of settle it amongst yourselves, instead of like you have this opportunity to get put to fourth and then maybe you get hit there, you get turned around, you finish like eighth.
Yeah. That's huge, because like with us right here, the passes that we are making on each other are not really hurting our momentum too much, especially going down to North Pole. Now all the little side-by-side stuff that we've been doing, going into turn 1 and turn 2, into 3, like all the over-under stuff, that can hurt us a little bit. But fortunately, me and you just seem to be the class of the field in this race. I mean, we were typically the class of the field anyways, but I think there was just something about the pressure that put us, at 110% as far as drivers. And I think we just had two really solid karts, which we didn't even get to talk about the opportunity of having a bad kart, which is something that's just, it sucks and is out of our control. Whereas in Ignite, there's a little bit more of an opportunity for us to kind of work on our stuff and make it better. Or if you end up buying a used kart and something's tweaked on it, then you're kind of stuck with it. With iDrive, you're always moving to different karts.
Yeah, and then, there's just not even much to say about whenever you get a bad one. You can't complain, you can't do nothing. It happens to everyone eventually, and that's racing, too. Sometimes you've got a perfectly good piece that your team made for you, and something just breaks. You're not always going to get those lucky breaks that allow you to go for the win.
And it teaches a really good lesson, and most of the time, more times than not, you'll have a fine kart that you can work with. I think one of the things that people... talking about from my current job standpoint of being the lead mechanic on these karts is before an iDrive, I will get in these karts and I will drive them. There's usually a day, like a Monday or a Tuesday before iDrive, where I will get in these karts and I will drive them and get lap times and get data on them. And if there's something broke, I'll fix it. And I can usually get them within 0.2, 0.3 of each other, which there's still a difference there, right? But I think one thing that people fail to realize is these rental carts they've been there since the Gateway Kartplex opened back in 2013, 2014. So when people, the general public, have a hold of these carts and they run into a wall and they bend something or they break something, the chassis are all kind of out of tweak. All the chassis are different at this point. So some carts require a little bit of a different handling style than another cart. That's just kind of how it is.
The amount of abuse those carts have been through. If you can get a cart that's within a couple tenths of a second of the next guy, you say thank you. You do not complain. You say thank you for keeping this cart alive for so long.
Yes, it's very difficult to do, especially, like I said, on these old carts. It's just crazy. But at this point right now, we are getting the white flag, and you leading this race at this moment, what's your thoughts about, you've probably looked behind you within the half lap. You've seen me behind you. You get one to go. What's going through your mind as you lead this race?
Well, at this point, once I see the white flag, I know that I'm not winning this kart. I'm not winning the championship because you're not going to fall to third or worse. We've been up the class of the field all day. So here I'm just like, I want to get the win and at least go away with that, and knew that I did all I could. And just keeping the same mentality of the rest of the race of, I'll give him as fair of a shot as I feel like.
And to completely reiterate on what we talked about with the different driving style on modern day iDrive, this race right here, we're in the final lap, right? There's a cart on the line, and you are not riding the bottom of the racetrack going into North Pole. You're giving me a wide open opportunity to send it on the inside. That just shows not only the class of how iDrive was back in 2017, but just how we were racing each other at this point. And kind of looking at how I was thinking about it, I'm thinking about points. I'm thinking about I've got it at this point, so I don't want to put myself in a spot to where I'm. And another thing that I failed to mention, and I think it's very kind of ironic that we talk about it in the final lap, is it seems like every year in iDrive, there's always some kind of last lap, last heat drama that happens, and I think there's no better example of that than the year before this, where Colin Predith won the championship. I mean, that's a story to tell within itself. But essentially, the championship changed hands like 3 different times within the course of a lap. There just seems to be a lot of last lap moments that happen. So you've always got to be on your toes on these races, especially when the laps wind down. You don't want to try to put all the efforts in trying to do everything you can early on in the race. But I would also say that since everyone's bunched up at the start of these races, that's kind of a good opportunity to try to pick off a lot of positions. And then as you get through the middle part of the race, kind of settle in, find your rhythm, and then make that final push towards the end of a race. But fortunately, in this race, we didn't have any last lap drama.
Smooth as silk, baby.
Yeah. Go ahead, play this out here to the line. You do your one final peek back. You know that it's kind of set in stone. I mean, how bittersweet? How bittersweet
there
is
I
that?
go.
Yeah, you should loop. You absolutely looped her around.
I mean, I was happy to get the win. At the same time, I know I'm not getting the cart, but at the same time as that, I knew that my good buddy Bobby was getting a cart, and that I'd be able to afford a cart much better than you anyway. And yes, this is actually something going through my head seconds after the race, because it's hard to keep that stuff from like not entering your mind whenever you're in such a big situation like that. Because yeah, you're thinking about the race, but you can't help but think like of the bigger picture. I think my composure kind of changed a little bit, because I remember being so tense at the very beginning. And then once it set in at some point that you were going to finish first or second and that cart wasn't going to me, last couple of laps I'm like starting to kind of get that and accept it. And by the end, instead of being tense and like banging on my steering wheel or something because I didn't get it, I just like spit it around like, oh well, I did everything I could. I'm proud of what I did today. And I'm still proud of what I did that day. I don't think I could have done much better. I finished second in the first race and then drove through like the entire field in the second race, to only not pass you and pass everyone else. And I was like, I mean, I'm proud, and he's my friend, and he's gonna get a kart.
Yeah, it's I don't think I would think I literally honestly probably 95% of people would not have been able to handle that as well as you did. Like the way that you handled loss in a situation like that, it was very classy. Like it's always got to be like you were able to, you realize the big picture like you said, and think of like, oh, that's cool, now Bobby's able to race Ignite, but there's always got to be that like, damn, like, ugh. But it's pretty impressive that you were able to put that aside for the time being and be able to think about it big picture like that. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why we were able to race each other so well is because, you know, I mean, there's people that the big problem is that would have really set off a last lap catastrophe is if I had tried forcing the issue in the final lap to try to win the race, being greedy. And I realized at that point that, you know, I don't have to be greedy to prove a point, you know. And I think the fact that you were able to, I mean, it's not like you finished third and you won a race and you're barely in second by the grip of your teeth. I mean, it was close the entire time. First heat race, I don't think you had a great kart. Second heat race, you had a good kart. Just, you did, if I think you would have had another lap or two, you would have been to me and you probably would have been able to get around me. I mean, I think you probably had the better kart in that situation. And we, in this final race, what looked like in the video, had pretty equal karts. So it's just kind of the luck of the draw and kind of being in the place at the right time, I think, was the two big things that kind of determined the championship that day.
Yeah, and something else, I thank you for saying that I'm classy. No one's ever said that, I promise. But I also just wanted to thank you again because the way that we were able to race that day, I feel like everything was left out on the track and there weren't any regrets. Because I remember, I think you had asked me before the last race about like how cool are we for this? How do you expect to be raced? However it came up, and I remember telling you, even though I knew I had to beat you by like a significant margin, I was like, I want you to race me as hard as you can. I do not want you to give me anything. And you ended up giving me just a little bit, but I didn't even know until afterwards because it felt like it was balls to the wall the whole time. Not only was I giving my all, but you were giving your all. It all felt legit. I was like, there's no desire to redo. It helps you not be sitting here 4 years later, like, actually still sour about it and like, he should have let me go, or he was going easy. He made a fool of me, you know?
You know, all things considered, I'm also very, very obviously very happy on how everything turned out and was glad that, you know, in defeat, you were able to still kind of take something away from it and have a good, fun time. So that's what iDrive's really all about at the end of the day. Just having a good time. And I think the friend group that we've made through iDrive has been great as well. And, you know, it's a great place to start in karting. That's for sure.
100% agree. And I'm glad that you allowed me to sit in here at the ATA network and look over the good old times, the golden age of the iDrive boys. But I believe I have to be going now. I think I'm stuck in some sort of sinkhole. I'll catch you later. We'll do tea, okay? Oh dear God! Tell my family I love them.
I'm not sure what happened to Brendan there, but anyways, I thank you everyone for watching this video. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. Like I said in the last episode, I'm trying to keep this at a weekly upload schedule, so expect more content coming soon. But until next time, I will see you guys later.